G'day guys, Marcus Searching for Adventure and welcome to another episode. Today we're going to take a closer look at our new or second-hand 2019 Toyota Land Cruiser 200 series and get into some of the reasons why we decided to buy the Land Cruiser, how much it cost us to buy it, and also what we intend on doing to the Land Cruiser to make it work for us. So anyway, hang around and we'll get into it and take a look. Okay guys, so why did we decide to buy the Land Cruiser 200 series? So there's obviously a few options. The number one reason why we wanted to change was for space and comfort for both us, Ali and I, and the kids. So we did want something larger and something more comfortable. Realistically, there's only a handful of cars on the market that would probably suit us. So also too, I'm a little biased. I love the Toyotas. I've had a lot of Toyotas. My very first car was a HJ45 Land Cruiser Ute, a 1977 model. So my first car was a Land Cruiser. I've always tended to navigate towards Land Cruisers, or Toyotas. So I am a little bit biased. However, when we did make the decision to start looking around, we did look at all the options. So there were 2 or 3 other options that we did look at. So option 1 we looked at was the Nissan Patrol, and I think it represents really good value for money for what you get. Comparing it to a Toyota in a similar model, you certainly do get a lot more features, more bang for your buck. And the Patrol, they are a petrol engine, they're a V8 obviously, but tons of space inside the cabin, and certainly obviously enough capability for towing the van and or doing touring or whatever that I might want to do away from the family on my own. So it ticked all those boxes, but one of the biggest things that I didn't like about the Nissan Patrol was the interior. So the interior, it was kind of like walking back into the 1980s or early 1990s. And yeah, they had that wood grain paneling and it was bloody horrible. So we didn't get the Patrol, but I think it's certainly a good option. So Patrol certainly worth looking at. So the other option that we looked at was the Ram truck, the American Ram truck 1500, and had heard great things about it and started doing a bit more research. We went and looked at a Ram, sat in a Ram, didn't drive one. Certainly the model that we were looking at was the Ram 1500 Limited. We actually put a $1,000 deposit down on a Ram to get ourselves in line because there were so many people, interested. And then, with the coronavirus and just in general buying a new car, there is a sort of a 6-month wait time with most manufacturers. So we thought, well, we'll put the $1,000 deposit down on the Ram truck because that's possibly an avenue or possibly something we might look at seriously buying. And the Ram 1500 Limited had all the bells and whistles. It literally had everything. The big 12-inch portrait touchscreen. It had electronic everything. It was like a spaceship. It was like big huge flux capacitor right there in front of you. So look, it had everything that opened and shut. However, I did have a few concerns about, is it capable for kind of remote touring without the van? If I go and take the Ram 1500, head west with a couple of mates and we go and do maybe the Simpson Desert, or we do the Canning Stock Route, some of these more remote outback tracks. And the more research I did, the more that I found that I just didn't think that this car would be suitable for those sorts of conditions. And again, this is just my opinion only on the Ram 1500. But as a touring vehicle and putting all the gear on it and taking it on those hardcore remote tracks here in Australia, I just didn't think it was going to be as suitable as the tried and tested 200 behind me. So I think ultimately, looking at the Patrol, looking at the Ram 1500 and looking at the Toyota Land Cruiser 200 series, it was a bit of a no-brainer to go to the 200. So obviously we knew the 300 series Land Cruiser was coming out once we'd sort of settled on the Toyota, that we then had to make the decision, would we wait until the 300 comes out, which is rumoured to come out, I think, around August or September in Japan. And I'm not sure when the first ones will start to arrive here in Australia. So we had to make that decision. Do we wait another, I don't know, 12 months or 10 months or whatever it might be for the Land Cruiser 300, or do we try and look at a second-hand 200, which is what we obviously had done. So I think the two reasons were we didn't want to wait 10 months or 12 months because we'll end up doing another 5 or 10 trips in the caravan, and we want something before then. And look, there's been a lot of talk about the 300 series. What sort of motor is it going to have? It's rumoured to be a V6 and different variants across the world. But here in Australia, a turbo V6. So, you know, it is fairly kind of well spoken in the circles that they're not going to bring back a turbocharged or twin turbocharged V8 like the 200. But for me, look, I'm not a massive engine person. I really don't know too much about cars, to be honest. So I wasn't caught up in that, well, I have to have a V8 and it has to be twin turbo. I'm worried about what the 300's going to have. That didn't really affect me in my decision making whatsoever. I think Toyota are smart enough, if they're going to bring out a newer model, this has been in production 13 years, it's going to be better, you would think. It's going to have the same amount of power, if not more, same amount of torque, if not more, and it's going to have obviously a whole bunch of updated technology. You know, the 200 here is based on bones 13 years old, so anyway, that's so we made that decision. So the next step was to obviously keep our eyes out for a Land Cruiser 200 on car sales. This popped up, and as I mentioned earlier, listed at 101,000. We ended up getting it for 96, and with the upgrades that we had on it, and we could see what the previous owners had spent on the car, it did owe them about 118, 120 grand, and we've got all the receipts for that. So look, they probably paid, I know these were retailing at about $102,000 drive away in 2019 and also last year. And in fact, last year we did go into a dealership and we did look at buying a brand new Land Cruiser, a 2020 model, and we actually got them down to 92.5 grand. So that'll give you some indication of if you are out there looking to go and negotiate on a new car. Maybe not now because of the coronavirus tax and all those sorts of things, but before that, 102 for a GXL, drive away, we got them down to 92. So some people aren't that confident when they're haggling, and I've always had the attitude that, you know, it's show business, it's not show friends. So go in there and go hard. You're dealing with a car dealership, and I don't know if you can hurt their feelings or not, but I don't know, I just tend to think you've got nothing to lose. So I think when you're negotiating on a car, of course, once again, this is pre-coronavirus, it's a little bit different now, we're in a different world, but you can get a good deal if you're willing to be a bit harsh with your negotiating. So anyway, we didn't end up obviously going ahead with that because we didn't want to rush into it. Then I saw sight of that Ram 1500 Limited, and then anyway, we ended up buying this one, picked it up secondhand, and no complaints. All right, so first up first, we're going to put a drawer system in the rear. So I think that's just super handy. And what we're trying to achieve here is a car and a build that's going to be good for when we're traveling with the family, with the caravan, which a lot of these modifications you wouldn't need. But also too, I'm looking for a hybrid, if you want to call it, a car that's capable for touring overland with me and a mate. So for example, in June, we're heading to the Simpson Desert and also Central Australia, myself and my best mate Mick. So I want the car to be set up for overland touring as well as caravanning, and then I think there's a bit of a balance with weights and what you want to put into the car and what modifications. So we thought about that very, very carefully, especially with the weights, even though the car has the GVM upgrade. But we wanted to find that sort of happy balance with what we put in the car that'll work when we're just with the caravan, work if I'm going overland touring with a mate out west, but also importantly when I'm just home doing nothing, which is 90% of the time. So I need it to be practical enough to go to Woolies and do the grocery shopping and all those sorts of things. So anyway, number one on our list was a drawer system. So we'll put that in the back here. At the moment, the seats, the back seats, are still obviously in the back. They will come out. And the ruling with that in Queensland, it might vary from state to state. With these rear seats, you can actually take them out without getting an engineering certificate or some kind of official document. If you are only taking the seats out as a sort of a temporary measure, and as long as you're not removing the seat belts, so as long as you're not removing the seat belts and you're only removing these rear seats here in the last row of your wagon, here in Queensland, that's all okay. So the brand of drawers that we've got going in, I think they're called RV storage drawers. And yeah, I'll wait till the drawers go in and then I can sort of do a bit of a video on what actually went in. But the drawers are going in, there's a fridge slide going in. Also going in the back of the 200, I've got a second 100 amp lithium battery to power the onboard electrics, which isn't a lot. So we've got some lights going in here. Obviously there's a fridge. We're putting in a 1000 watt inverter so I can charge, camera gear and phones and those sorts of things if we need to. So just at the front, we're putting a bull bar on the front of the car. We're putting a 12,000 pound winch on the front as well, and recovery points I think are inbuilt with the TJM Outback bull bars. As I mentioned before, it's already got the safari snorkel. The car has the Rhino roof rack up the top there, but we are adding a 100 watt solar panel, and that'll be fed into the 100 amp lithium battery that we're getting put in the back. And what else are we doing? So we're getting a bunch of sort of work lights put around the car, and also some lights put on the rear, on the tailgate. There's the 1000 watt inverter. We're getting a DC to DC charger, 25 amps, so we can charge our secondary battery as we're driving. Might just give you guys a bit of a look inside the car. Now I haven't washed the car at all, but when we bought the car, they did have these seat covers, and they're not hardcore off-road touring seat covers that you can buy that are worth lots of money. But yeah, the previous owners had fabric protection done on the seats. They're just so spacious, the Land Cruisers. There's plenty of space. I did get a dash mat. I just bought this dash mat at, might have been Autobarn, and then I have got a dash organiser. What I will say, one negative thing I will say is the storage for putting, your keys and your wallets and your phone and your zappers and all those sorts of things. There's not actually a lot of storage. So you do have, these two compartments here, and then you've got your cup holders here, but there's not too much more space. There is a little compartment just in here, but it's a little bit bloody hard to get to. There is obviously storage in the doors. Oh, the car already had the Red Arc electric brake controller. So anyway, bought the dash organiser, give myself some more storage. So this is where the Land Cruisers just come into their own with the amount of space that's going on in the back. So that's my normal sitting position right here. And there would be almost a ruler's length, 300 mil, 30 centimeters of space from here to here, if not a bit more. So tons of room. One other thing we are getting is a cargo barrier over the back here, so we all don't get squashed if we hit the brakes hard. The other modification that we are doing, we are changing over the rims and tyres on the car as well. So in fact, I've already ordered those and they are in. So we've gone with some ROH Vapor matte black rims and some aggressive all-terrain tyres, the Falcon brand Wild Track. So they'll be going on. They'll be going on shortly. Well, they're actually in stock and they've got it all ready for us, good to go. But we are heading away on our next adventure in the caravan just for Easter. So we're heading away next Thursday. So these tyres have still got plenty of tread on them. So I'm not going to put the new tyres on yet until after the trip. Rightio guys, so that's a wrap on our 2019 Toyota Land Cruiser 200 series. So we're really excited about the modifications that are happening in about 4 weeks time. We've had to wait on some things. Once again, coronavirus has put a big wait time on a lot of options. So yeah, we've had to wait almost 2 months for some of the things to be ready. So once we get everything installed, I'll do another video and show you guys what I've just sort of quickly ran through. I've probably missed half the things, what we're getting done to the Land Cruiser, and do a video on that as well. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video to give you a bit of an idea on why we bought the car, how much we paid for it, what we're going to do with it, and you know, why I love Toyotas. So until next time, we will see you searching for adventure. See you guys.